Hey y'all, how's it going? It's Mia. Welcome back. And today we are discussing House of the Dragon episode 2. And I am so sorry that this is late, at least for me. I was on a very fun long weekend vacation to San Diego and I came back like last night and I'm like hungover and no, I'm just imagine though if I just come on camera and I'm like, hey guys, so we're talking House of the Dragon today. But no. I am bright, and I am cheery, and I am delivering this while changing my glasses. But anyway, no. I had a fun time watching episode 2, and it's really, to me at least, solidified that Game of Thrones is back. I think a lot of us can forgive them for season 8, or at least just kind of be like, you know what, the past is in the past because you're giving us something better. And it's no wonder that this got renewed for season 2, like, immediately. This had basically some very high viewership, I think comparable like season 6 of Game of Thrones. And then not only that, but I believe this episode as well, episode 2, got like 10 million views in the first night, or maybe I'm making stuff up, but they've been doing really well. So a lot has been brewing in this episode, and I'm kind of glad that we're finally moving forward. In the last episode, I was talking about how we just had a lot of family lore to catch up on, right? All the Valerians and the Targaryens and all of those things going on, and we just had to kind of catch up with it, especially for people like me. Like I said, I haven't read Fire and Blood, I haven't read any of the original novels, so I just kind of come in watching the TV series and enjoying that. So let's just talk about episode 2, because like I said, so much happened, and it's really kind of lighting the fire for some of these really, really big events to kick off, as I'm assuming, later this season. So we start off about half a year after the first episode, Rhaenyra's talking about, how her mother has passed and they're already wanting her father to find a new queen. And, this was one of the more interesting kind of plots, because you have this kind of pull within, King Viserys and then as well Rhaenyra, because both of them are still grieving Queen Aemma. So they're kind of like, how do we move on? And for Viserys specifically, he is kind of bound by duty, like, to marry another queen, marry another woman. This is expected of him, and yet what I really enjoy is that we see this humility within him. I think it's kind of a very rare trait or very rare feat to see kind of a king or someone who is in power be like, maybe I don't want to move on. Maybe I don't want to accept the responsibility or accept what is expected of me. So I had to give them props for that. Especially him being a man, kind of showing those feelings. I don't know, that was just something that stuck out to me. And as well, seeing him and Rhaenyra kind of coming to this as well. Because you could see there was this kind of weird tension with them. Not really a tension, but just kind of this, he was, saying she barely speaks any words to me. So you can tell that the death had a very, big impact on them. And at the same time, it's been hard for them to talk about their feelings. So, when they're having that little awkward family dinner, they kind of are like, so I did this, I did that. And you can see them warming up and opening up to each other again. And I just thought that was cute. Like, how often do you see an awkward family dinner in Game of Thrones? It's not like Red Wedding. That I thought that was really cute. And then towards the end, they go and have that really big kind of talk where Viserys kind of opens up and he's like, it's really hard for me, to get over your mother. And she's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, but you do understand that because I am king, I have to find a new wife. And she's like, yeah, I get it. So in the end, they both come to this kind of bittersweet agreement that, yeah, it is what it is. We have to accept tradition. We have to accept our duties. So I understand you have to take a wife, so be it. And, hey, maybe Aemma would have understood. So that was that. And now, so, well, it was all well and good. I did really appreciate that up until the point where he does meet with the small council and he's like, yo, I made a decision and I'm going to get married. And you see Corlys is like, well, I just like that little smugness. He's like, well, and, Rhaenyra is also like, it is what it is, it's cool, until he's like, so I'm gonna be marrying Alicent Hightower, no big deal. And it's like, and so I guess in some way we very much could have seen that coming, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But man, for just him and Rhaenyra especially, I know that this was information that he specifically withheld from her, even though they just had that very nice heart-to-heart the night before and they came to accept it. He had to get remarried. I think he withheld that from her because he knew it was going to make her a little upset. He knew that she wasn't going to like that. It's like, that's her closest friend, or, as far as I can tell. So, as we can see, she stormed out of that council meeting. She was not very happy about it. And it's just like kind of one little straw on the camel's back now of this mounting drama. So one thing that really I was going back and forth with this episode was trying to figure out what was Alicent's deal. And this was kind of carried over from last week's episode, because when her father is Otto Hightower. After the queen died, Otto went to Alicent and was like, hey, why don't you go comfort the king? And you're like, oh God, what does that mean? I hope it's not anything horrible, but I feel like it is something horrible. And then she goes into his chambers and she just gives him some kind, soothing words. And you're like, okay, so it's not that bad. And that was kind of that in that episode, right? Then you come to this episode 2, and here they are again. Here she is in his chambers, and you're like, oh, maybe there is something more, In that first episode, it just felt like she understood Viserys was grieving. She's like, I know where he's coming from. Instead of doing one thing, I'm gonna offer him some kind words. But now I was like, oh, she's really trying to play something up, because he keeps talking about their talks. So this isn't just an anomaly. This keeps happening. And so that's why I was like, okay, Alicent is up to something. But then you have this scene where she goes to talk to her father, and he goes to ask her, will you be paying the king a visit or something like that? And, she will. So I'm like, okay, Otto is still putting her up to this, but my question is, what is Alicent's sentiment towards this? Like, is she really wanting to seduce the king and to be the queen, or is she just going along with her father's ploy, basically? Because I just literally, I can't get a grip on her, and it's freaking me out. Even when she was in the room with the candles talking to Rhaenyra, even then I felt like there was just kind of this twinge of like, I don't know, snakiness, where she is very fond of Rhaenyra, but also she's kind of just got this underline like, yeah, I'm probably gonna marry your dad, so it's no big deal, but just know that that's going on in the background. So whatever the case, what I love about Alicent's character is that she's very sneaky. She can play into what she needs to do. She's got a great poker face, but it just seems very devious. And it's like, okay, this is someone you got to keep an eye out on. Now, on the other side of this whole marriage debate was Corlys. Corlys Velaryon. I have to make sure we've got Valerian and then Velaryon, if I'm even saying those two right. But Corlys, master ships on the council, or within the king's, he's close to the king, right? And he and his wife, Princess Rhaenys, suggested that their daughter, Lady Laena, I'm getting all these names right, be married to the king. And their whole idea was like, hey, we've got two strong Valyrian families, Targaryen and Velaryon. Yes. So why don't we show the kingdom, why don't we show Westeros what we're made of? And he was basically like, look, king, some crazy things have been going down. Number one, you just named your daughter the heir to the throne, and she's a woman, so people might not like that. Number two, all of my men are getting beat to heck at sea, and we've got this crab feeder guy. What's his deal? We should probably do something about that. And then number three, your traitor of a brother is going around and he's wreaking havoc and he's sieging Dragonstone. So you've got a lot of stuff going on. So if our families come together, maybe we could be a little stronger, put the fear of God in them. And so Viserys is like, right, I see where you're going, but your daughter is 12. was such a funny reveal to me because I was thinking the daughter is like Rhaenyra and Alicent's age. But then you see little lady Lena, and she's got like what I call her Party City wig going on, and she's only 12. And it's so awkward. It is so awkward. So, yeah, of course he was going to turn down your offer, dude. At least thank God he turned down her offer. Because you also see Otto was kind of playing into it like, man, she's 12. If it were me, I wouldn't marry someone who was 12, but I would definitely marry someone who looks just like my daughter. No, he didn't say that, but boy. So now it's like Viserys choosing not to marry Lena was just like another blow, to this house of cards, because it's like, well, Corlys is master of ships. He's got a fleet. He could turn against you at any moment. So that's something to consider. And of course, we saw in the very end he did. And I was not expecting him to be wanting to team up with Daemon, even though I guess that seems about right now that I think about it. But when they had that reveal, I was like, oh, it's going down. It's going to go down. So let's talk about Daemon as well, because number one, I'm really loving Matt Smith in it. He's just so sassy and he's so broody, and oh my gosh. But anyway, Daemon had his own little arc in this, right? We saw from the last episode when he went out that he snuck a dragon's egg. At least I'm pretty right. We saw that in the last episode. And then this episode is when the Dragon Keeper comes to say, hey, we're missing an egg. And so, of course, Daemon is trying to provoke his brother. He's not very happy about being kicked out of the King's Landing. And so we've got this whole thing going on. It's like, number one, hey, Dragonstone is mine and I'm here. And they're like, what? He's like, number two, I'm going to take up a second wife because I love her. It's just a whiny little baby. And number three, I took a dragon egg so that my child can have one next to his crib like Targaryen tradition. I'm sorry. And so Rhaenyra is like, what egg did he take? And comes to find out it was the egg that was supposed to be kept with her brothers in his cradle. Of course, he died. So Daemon just thought, hey, let's provoke the big man. Let's provoke the king and see what happens. Now, of course, his plan all goes to shit because, when they go to confront him, Otto comes and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? And Daemon is like, yeah, I know you've got an army, but I've got a dragon. And so he tries to do that and they get a little scared and they're like, ooh, let's fall back, until Rhaenyra comes in, swoops in. Big Daenerys energy, by the way, right? Playing by her own rules, mother of dragons. We love that energy. And what I really liked, though, in particular about this scene was that it was like she laid it out to him, like what explicitly is going on if he wants to be heir, if he wants to be the king. Because she's like, look, my dad named me king, so if you are not king, well, queen, but she was like, my dad named me the heir, so if you want to be on that throne, that means you have to kill me. And you could see that they have a relationship together, her and Daemon. So he's like, you right, I don't want to kill you, at least not right now. So he had to fall back. He gave back the dragon's egg. And then, as we come to find out with his mistress, she wasn't even in this as well. She's like, we're getting married? What? You're gonna have a kid with me? No. So walls are all crumbling down for Daemon. You can tell he's like, okay, I need to re-strategize. And luckily, here comes Corlys, who may be the help that he didn't even know he needed. But I just kind of thought that whole scene was just, it was amazing. So what to look forward to next week? They did have a preview for episode 3. So it's not too many big spoilers, right? We find out that we have Aegon Targaryen, who is born, I believe it would be of Alicent and Viserys. So the king is going to finally have a male heir. And that is obviously going to stir the pot because wait a minute. Back in the talk that Rhaenyra and Viserys had, he was like, yo, you are the heir. Even if I have new kids, I still choose you. And so be it. Now we see that everyone's like, no, Aegon is going to have to be the king. That's what's up. And Rhaenyra is not going to be feeling it. So yeah, that's going to be a sticky situation, especially as we know, it's going to really disrupt her relationship with Alicent. And then not only that, but we're also, as you can see from the preview, dealing with the stuff with the crab feeder. Don't you just love that name? That dreadful little pirate crab feeder. I hate it, by the way. They opened the episode with the crab feeding, and I was like, why? Why Game of Thrones? Oh, and speaking of opening the episode, same old Game of Thrones theme song. I'm not mad. I'm not mad that they chose to go with the same song. Kind of reminds me of Star Wars. Like, okay, we're going to use the same theme for Stars. Yeah, that's Star Wars. But may I have appreciated a different song? Sure, but it was nice to be like, same old theme song is back. This really takes me back. Again, no shade. I really enjoyed the opening. It was really great. So I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm excited to see episode 3. And just let me know what you thought about this week's episode. If you're loving it, if you're not feeling it, or whatever. Just let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed this discussion. Head over to my She-Hulk discussion video as well. We are still discussing that concurrently with House of the Dragon, so it's a great time to be alive, and sub for more House of the Dragon Game of Thrones talk. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.